Hey everyone, I'm back. So today we're going to have a discussion on mental health. I think it's a very important discussion we should have with my friend DJ. How are you?
Hi, Raf. I'm so happy to see you, and I'm really
Oh,
glad that we have this time together now.
yes.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about mental health because we do think it's a discussion. It's one of the discussions that are, I don't know if we can say taboo
Yeah.
anymore because I think now people are discussing, talking about it. But with now that we are having the discussion, it's starting to, to come out, and people are talking about their mental health issues. For some people, when they see, actors or sports people or sports people, yeah, talking about their mental health, it kind of helps them because they don't feel too alone, and depending on your background and your family's dynamics, I think the fact that we are slowly starting to to talk about it, it's a good thing. But I think it's the way we talk about it that I do feel can be problematic at times. And yeah, so I just said, I'm going to bring my friend DJ. I'm not gonna lie, I do have some mental health issues, and that's why it is something I do, want to talk about it. So yeah, DJ, like, introduce yourself.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm DJ. I am, what do I do? Well, I'm a project manager for a market research company. Um, but Raf and I have known each other for a couple of years now. We met through our mutual friend, Mariana. And we actually, a couple of years ago, had a YouTube channel together called The New Power Paradigm. So that was really fun. We did also have a mental health episode that I believe is still up. I think all our videos are still up.
Think so,
So
yeah.
yeah, we could probably even like link to that old video.
Good, huh? Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I haven't looked at it in a couple of years, so I don't know. It might be a little bit cringy. But yeah, what else do I do? I love to write. I love talking about mental health. That's something that I have been doing for a couple of years now, and yeah, I also host a podcast with my friend Hanali. It's called Dear All of Us. Um, and we talk about kind of anything and everything, and we also talk a little bit about our lives and how our mental health impacts us, especially in like during the pandemic and how it's been going on. So yeah, so that's I'm really happy that we're talking today.
Yeah. So well, let's begin. The thing, so as I was saying before, it's like the way we're discussing mental health. I think sometimes some people can before I begin the video, I prefer saying trigger warning because I do think mental health mental health discussion can trigger some individuals in a in different ways. So I'm going to put trigger warning when I'm going to be doing the editing, and I'm telling you guys already trigger warning. If you don't want to listen to it, you don't have to listen to this discussion, but yeah, so now let's begin. As I was saying before, so now that we are starting to talk a bit more about mental health issues, the way we present mental health issues can be somewhat problematic. Um, I wouldn't say everyone does it, but some people do it. Some people sometimes do it on purpose. Some people, they just don't know how to, word some, you know, say what they want to say, and then they say it, in a manner that can trigger someone in a certain ways. And I do think sometimes it's the way we view people with mental health. And one of the things I do realize is when we say you are weak. I've heard that it's not really outward like you're weak. They don't say it like that, but they just like imply it sometimes. Someone will say it directly to your face. You don't need to talk to a psychologist. You don't need to talk to see a therapist. Talk to your family, and we can handle the situation, And although we love our families, and I love my family, I think sometimes it's better if talk to somebody who knows more about mental health problems. So the question I have is, do you believe society's views on mental health is one of the reasons why we treat people with mental health problems a certain way?
I think absolutely. I think the public, the social stigma on about mental health is definitely real. I mean, I feel like that is in everything you see. I think growing up, as someone who loves horror movies, and I think if you really look at maybe like the 80s slasher movies, it's always like the killer or the villain is someone who has just escaped an insane asylum, or um
Mm,
or they just like left jail, and they're obsessed with this idea of madness. And that was something that definitely like I ingrained that information in my head. And I would view, this that common misconception that people with mental illness are dangerous, violent, unpredictable. Like that's something that you find out that I found out really early. And like you said, the idea that mental illness is a weakness. I have heard from people in my life in the past that, what I have is not a real illness. So yeah, like Raf, I also have mental health issues. I was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder when I was 18 years old. And I thought I was going to have it forever. I thought that it was something that was untreatable because of the way people would look at me and people who would like perceive me as soon as I told them that I had that. I remember when I was in college, I joined the accessibility center that they have at that college so that they could help me with my studies, because my mental health was really affecting every part of my life, including my academic life. And I showed to one teacher like my papers, and at the time you had to disclose what you had, which is something that I don't think should ever be done. Like in any kind of institution, you have the choice to not say what's your diagnosis, because that's something that's personal to you. But at the time I had to say this, and the reaction I got was just beyond. It was like, oh, I've heard people with this illness are really manipulative, really attention seeking, that it's kind of untreatable. And I was like, I'm standing right in front of you. For you to tell
mm,
me that as like a young person was just really shocking. And yeah, and obviously the stigma is real in every part of life, including family. I have family members who don't really understand, even the basics of depression, and having to educate the people in your life for sure. So I think the depictions of mental illness in media, including TV and movies, can be really tricky. I have seen some good ones over the last couple of years, but definitely there's this collection of depictions that are just completely off from real life. And I also think that influences institutions. I think the like
mm.
institutional stigma is definitely something that is hard too, because, intentional or not, there are definitely fewer mental health services compared to other kinds of healthcare. And I think that the stereotypes that we do see outside of our daily lives influences the laws and the institutions that are meant to protect people. So yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and like you were saying, you were talking about, the how people are viewed, how the stigma, how media view people with, certain mental health as dangerous, it's also, what and it's the way they'll say dangerous for everything. For example, I was like looking, we were talking about, I was like looking at a discussion on the YouTube, and it was The View and all those things, and they were talking about the gun problems in the U.S. And how the way they would say we shouldn't be looking at the problems with guns, we should be looking at people who have mental health issues, and it was just like this grand people who have guns are the ones who have mental health issues, and we have to be very careful with them. And then, and then it just, it for people who are maybe in a moment, because for me, my mental health, it goes, in waves, So I know sometimes some people may be at a point in their life where they don't feel as, as equipped to listen to this kind of message. So they'll take it and then they'll just like it's going to affect them a certain way, you know, and it's just that the there we go, the vilifying of people with mental health that like you perfectly said, is a problem. And I've also realized is sometimes is it's people that work within
Oh yeah.
uh, the mental health institution. And I remember when I was the first time, I think I was in my early 20s, I was going through so many difficult things in my mind, and I was looking for a psychologist, but I was afraid because I didn't want people to know that I had my mental health issues. And I remember going to oh, I forgot. So I'm not in Canada anymore, but there is this place that people go to for I can't believe I don't remember that. When you're sick, you can go to the hospital,
Yeah.
and you can also go to
This
the
year's
that
like the CLSEs.
yeah, the TLSs. There you go. So yeah, so I went to CLSCs, and then I was talking about a certain thing that happened to me, and they said you can talk to a psychologist, well, I don't think they're psychologist, but you talk to a therapist over here, and we can help you out, And I remember talking to the therapist. It was this man, and he was asking questions. I could see in his eyes that he didn't want to be there. At
Mhm.
first, I told myself maybe it's because I'm going through a phase, because I know sometimes when I go through phases, I can interpret things certain ways, and and it doesn't match what I'm seeing, So maybe that's what's happening. I told myself, but then it's just the way we talk, and then I started crying at some point, because he was like trying to see what was going on, and then he went, literally, he went like that, and. At that moment, I was still in that in my face, and I felt it, but I just let it go. And then I said, can you guys call me on my cell phone but not on my home phone, because I don't want my family to find out. And they said, yes, yes, we'll do. And a week later they called me on my home phone, and my mom answered, you know and they specifically said, we're talking CLSE to talk to your son about his mental health issues and all that. And my mom knew. Mom was like worried.
Mhm.
So sometimes it's also within the people that work within the mental health institutions that may have prejudice, or may view certain groups as they may be exaggerating about their mental health because of their background, or it can be poverty, it can be the fact that it's a woman, or transgender. Then all of these things
Yeah.
intertwined. So that is already a violence, right? So I think in itself it kind of blocks people to then seek further,
Mhm.
because they just feel attacked.
Yeah, it's like being re-traumatized all over again.
Yeah.
Like have your own personal traumas and you're seeking help from people who are supposed to be the ones to guide you, and then you'll just have this sometimes, I've been burned as well by the mental health care system. And even though like I'm in therapy, I know that it benefits me. Of course it's beneficial for people, but there's definitely some shopping around for therapists, like you definitely you can't, if you have a shitty therapist, you got to look for another one, because there's always going to be certain people that you don't vibe with, and that may be because of their messed up views, because they see the same things that regular people see, outside. And if they don't have that basic education of that, these are like human beings that you're dealing with, and that can be a problem. So I totally get that. But oh my god, calling you specifically
I
said
know.
call that number. I mean, and also it's such a weird thing, like if you have the person answering the phone and it's not the person that you want to reach, like it's not up to you to disclose that information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And going back to what I was talking about, how we view mental health as a weakness. I where I won't go with this. I want to go something with this, but now I don't know where I want to go with this. Um, yeah, there you go. I think we're talking a lot about the violence, but just the violence in the words also, like it's a weakness, and I do think it's again like we were saying, society in a whole that view as mental health illness as a weakness, right? Because we have this view of if I remember when I was and it still happens. Well, now it doesn't happen often because I learned not to talk to everyone that have a mental health issue. Well, now everybody's gonna know, of course, because it's on YouTube. But, but I learned to be careful who I talk about my mental health issue to. So I think that it's a question of you know talking to people and getting hit with the negative things about mental health issues, but yeah, so I think whenever I would say I'm seeing a psychologist, and it not everyone did that to me. I don't want to make it seem like oh, poor me, I've been through all those difficult things, but there were some individuals who did say, oh, I think if this has to be weakness, it has to be weakness. You're you have to be strong. You have to be strong. Life will hit you with, uh, you'll get punches, and you have to pick yourself up, and that's all you have to do. Then you will make it. And I think some people, when they do that, some people don't understand how mental health works, how depression work. That sometimes you'll be fine one day, and then a week later you're just on the bed. You don't want to move.
Yeah, there doesn't have to be a reason, right? And I think people always want to find what is the reason behind the way you're acting. And this, I think part of the education is to understand that mental health conditions, psychiatric conditions,
Yeah.
to put them on the same level that you would put any physical condition, right? It's this idea that, like if I broke my leg, why do you expect me to come to work on that day? It's
Yeah.
not, it's like it's this idea that mental health issues are less severe than physical conditions. And yeah, like I've had people tell me, they'll tell you the regular things like, oh, well, you just need to get exercise, get your diet together, and, look on the bright side and to choose to be happy. This idea
Yeah.
that you have to, if you just think of it, then that will automatically cure your mental health issue. And it's like, first of all, your I didn't even ask for your advice, and you're going to give me advice anyway. So
Yeah.
those are people that I usually stay away from as well. And like you said in one of your videos, Raf, like you don't have to, like I've also stopped trying to please other people, you know,
Yeah.
like coming into a room and being like, this is who I am, take it or leave it.
Yeah.
Um, that's also something that you have to think about, because I think part of the social stigma, the institutional stigma, there's also this self stigma, right? Because of the things
Yes.
we have witnessed and the things that we have gone through, people have told us, we recycle all those things in our head. And there it's definitely difficult to do, but you know, I think therapy is so great for that, because those are things you can work on in therapy. And yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I think that's why I think it's important, because I feel like as we do as we have this discussion, I also want to talk, we want to talk about the the difficult things a person may have heard, but also remind people that it is okay. You can go look for someone to help. I mean, for me, it took me a bit of time. Well, I did, talk to people and things happen. So it just, stopped me from, going there. I still remember when a person told me, maybe you enjoy, I'm saying those things not to, make other people worry, but I just want people to hear and then say, okay, I went through this. And just show you, like, now I'm talking to, to a psychologist, but yeah, so I was talking to a person told me, and the person didn't mean any harm, I feel like sometimes people say things because they don't know how to, to gauge or to, they're trying to help, but it falls short, the person said, maybe Raphael, you enjoy being sad, you know no, not you don't, you're comfortable in sadness, and all those little things, so for people who, who are talking to somebody with mental health, don't say this. I mean, don't say I mean, for me, just don't say this, because it can affect someone, deeply, right? And I remember when that person told me, it's as if the person was telling me that I chose to be depressed,
You woke up one morning and you were like, I'm going to put my sad face on and I'm going to be just a bummer to everyone in my life. Like, no, that's not how people wake up. And like, you know, um, as someone with mental health issues as well, specifically borderline personality disorder is very stigmatizing. I mean, all mental illnesses are. I mean, like schizophrenia, like bipolar disorder. Like I've heard like outlandish things that like BPD is um, just like another version of bipolar disorder, or that I'm manipulative. But it's not like I came out one day and I had all these behaviors that bothered everybody and that I was liking to do these things.
Yeah,
It's because of things that have happened in my life, which is the trauma that have made me act this way. And it's a cry for help, really.
yeah,
It's not a weakness. It's not a personality trait that is like horrible. I mean, I think people have to have more compassion for other people. And this thing just to say that you choose to be, it's not like a choice that you have.
yeah,
It's all the things that happened to you that made you who you are. We're all people. We all have these like animal tendencies. And when you have a mental illness, your reaction, your responses to certain situations can be off the meter, and people won't understand that. And it's unfortunate. But that's also something that I've had to look at because, as people with mental issues, we're always just like psychoanalyzing ourselves as well. And we're just like, oh my God, did I choose happiness? You start to believe it yourself. I mean, like, did I choose sadness? And that's something also that's I think it can be used in it has a negative impact when you hear it from someone who you feel like doesn't actually like know you deep down. It's shocking, but then it's also
yeah,
like, well, what do they know that like I need to know to make myself happy? Like, what do they experience? I wish I knew what it was like to be, you know, not to not have mental health issues. Like, what's it like to be normal? Um, but
yeah,
yeah, it's hard, and I think we have to educate those people in our lives. But sometimes we just don't have the. It can't be us all the time. It's exhausting to have to explain yourself over and over again. Yeah.
yeah. It can be just you, and I think another issue that sometimes we don't talk about it, and I'm going to explain in a way that that people don't think I'm just being over dramatic or what, is when you tell it, when there's a cry for help. I think we all go through this moment in our lives where we just, mental health or not, we all go in this moment in our life where we feel like I can't do this anymore. Like I can't, I don't know what to do, I don't know where to go. And then you tell the person, that like, I have these feelings, and I don't know how to, yeah, I don't know what to make of it. And those people who just, you can see in their eyes, they just want to run away. Like, you see, it's just like, this is not my business, right? And at the same time, I do believe that, like, any person can take the information how they want to. Like, I'm not gonna say to everybody to just, like, hold the person's hand and guide them. But when there's a cry for help, I think it is important to listen
Mhm.
carefully. Not want to walk away, or just like, oh, poor, there's like, oh, poor soul, and then they just like, move on to the next discussion, and just like, so yeah, so how was your day today? Well, what did you have for breakfast? Like sometimes just saying, um, oh, you can handle it, but just say, that there are people you can talk to, and you can just take the hands, because I've always what has helped me in a way. Am I making sense?
No, no, I understand completely.
Yeah. What has helped me is when I did have some, when I did cry for help. I mean, I didn't tell my family because I didn't want to worry my family, but I did find that some people, I could see they didn't know how to gauge it, but they kind of figuratively took my hands and showed me these are psychologists that can help you. There are therapists that can help you. There are people you can talk to in schools, that can help you. Oh, I had a with the school thing. I also had like a bad thing that happened to me, but I won't go into it. I'm trying to be more positive with this video. But yeah, so yeah, and also when I talk about the negative guys, anybody who has, if somebody may be feeling a certain way, don't take it and say, okay, this is over, right? I think it's important to to remember that there are other people who are not like the person you may have talked to, and that you have to find other help somewhere else, right? So yeah, I lost my train of thought because I was trying to make explain lots of things together. What was I saying again? Yeah, there you go. So just take the person by the hand and say, so this is psychologist, that they can help you out, and then that is helpful. But
Mhm.
when so I just realized when somebody asks for help and you just walk away, or you just like you can see the person's face like, I don't know what to do about this. No problem. Like
Uh,
you like
this is reminding me of sorry, I just because I am like everyone in the world, I'm just obsessed with TikTok. And there's like, there's a corner of TikTok where they talk about mental health. And it's really
yeah
funny as someone who has mental health issues. And someone did this TikTok where they showed up to the emergency room because they were feeling suicidal.
yeah
And in the TikTok, it's just like the person kind of at reception, kind of like talking on the phone, and you're like put on hold or something. And it just reminds me of this because sometimes, you feel so like when you're in a crisis or where you're in like a really extreme low, low, low
yeah
hyper arousal mode, it's
yeah
just, it can be so hard to be shaken out of that. And then to have all these like mundane things piled on, people not really knowing how to react to you. It can be a very like awkward and heartbreaking experience to
yeah
see. And just to have someone there to tell you, just to guide you a little bit about where you need to go, to kind of console you, can be really validating and can be,
yeah
and I think that's what everyone needs, is just like a little bit more tenderness, a little bit more compassion for the people that you walk past or that you cross paths with cross paths with. That's sure. Yeah, and for sure I totally understand what you're saying. I've in the past also just been kind of like, oh well, I guess like fuck me then, like I'm
right.
sorry that I even asked for help. Um,
Yeah.
but you can't tell, everyone's going through something, and you
Yeah.
know from a moment in time, like if whatever they're going through is stopping them from kind of engaging with you in a way that will be helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's like one of the things that I do. I do tell people, like when somebody come when there's a cry for help, if you feel like you cannot do much about it, uh, if it's possible, I mean, in the end we all go through our problems, like you said, and we maybe you're talking to a person that's also maybe going through difficult times, also who may have also mental health issues. And but just just the guiding, just like the tapping the hand and say, like, you don't have to say, I can help you with this, but at least the person knows, like, at least I knew that when I was talking to certain people, they didn't know what to say to me because they're not equipped to talk to me about my issues, but they did guide me. Like, so have you talked to, have you talked to a psychologist? There's like people that can help. Just those little, sentences that seem, I don't know what we're not mundane, but it seems like, yeah, what I'm trying to say anyway, but
Yeah.
but just those little sentences, can actually help a person greatly. Um, so yeah, so with all this, so with what we've talked about, my next question is compared to before. I mean, well, of course, we weren't born in the 1950s and the 30s and 60s. We weren't born there, but compared to
Getting
before.
electric shocks. You're not getting electric shocks? I was just at the hospital recently. I got my electric shock. I'm just
Yeah. So yeah, compared to before, do you believe we as a society have made an improvement, on how we treat people with mental health?
I think I think we're going in the right direction. I think like all this stuff with like Bell Let's Talk or although I feel like I'm sometimes wary of, big old mental health campaigns from the government, from people. I tend to like rely on maybe more community-based therapy because I
Yeah,
feel like that's more reliable and that's more I feel like I get more resources that way. So it can be tough when you have, these big corporations spouting that they care and that they care about
yeah,
your mental health and all that stuff. And I think I've been distanced from that just because of I'm doing like separate therapy and other things for myself. But I do
yeah,
think in a way that it's a little bit better, like people are more open to talking about their mental health. Um, at my work, it is kind of a priority in HR, which is incredible to me because I've had jobs in the past that have just don't care at all about your mental health. But
yeah,
I think it's starting to become really important in jobs, in other areas, to be mindful, to be empathetic when you have someone a part of your team that has these issues. So I think it is, but I also don't have, I'm not an expert on mental
yeah,
health. I don't know what it's really like behind closed doors. But even in the media that I see, like I've seen some, again, as someone who loves horror movies, like I do love my guilty pleasure slashers, although I'm not guilty about that guilty pleasure. But I have seen, like the Babadook, Maniac on Netflix, I think is an excellent. It's very nuanced, sensitive to what like actual mental illness is really like, and so that's really cool to see. So I'm really happy that we live in this day and age where we're able to, like, for you to have this YouTube channel. Like, I'm so proud of you, Raf, you know,
oh,
for
thank
continuing to talk about it, because I think that's part of how we destigmatize mental illness, is to talk openly about it and to talk about the issues that we have even within the mental health care system, because
yeah,
that's what's going to help us to educate more people and to treat each other better as human beings. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, me too. I would say that we have improved. Um, Yeah, but like like we like I don't want to because I hate when it's like we have improved, because the moment sometimes we say we have improved, like sometimes individuals say, oh, okay, so it's way better than before. Then there's, you know, everything's good. But like so I say like we have improved. Like I mean, compared to before, I feel a great sadness for people, who were born in those times where they had the mental health issues, and they were in that stage where there was electric shock, or there was abuse in psych wards, and all those things. And I feel great sadness. And but I think now what is good that we can actually talk about it. I don't really always talk about this, but for example, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, and how he talks about his mental health issue, Prince Harry, and all those things. For some people, like for me, it isn't about. I'm not really. into the royalty and all those things. But for some people, when they listen to this kind of individual, like I was saying in the beginning, when you hear a sports, you hear, the Duke of Sussex or whatever, talking like me too, I have a certain issue. What it does do is that it does show that you are not alone.
Yeah. It gives people the power to open up themselves because they see someone who has a similar issue as you, or if you think that you're all alone in the world feeling a certain way, and the worst in that moment is when you feel like you can just leave this earth and it wouldn't matter. Like that's to see yourself in someone else, that is super powerful, and I don't think people understand that enough. And that's why just acknowledging the simplest maybe look from a person, or kind of being in tune to that, can save lives. You never
Yeah,
know. Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
And that's why I think we have improved in a way, because we I think we do I think we have a way to go also, because I
Much
do
work to
think
do.
that, yeah, I do think that there is lots of problem going on in the mental health within the mental health within the mental health institution, if you can say that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that there is problem. Like we have to talk about racism in the mental health. How we gauge, because I know, when I was in Montreal, when I was looking for a therapist, I wanted to talk to a therapist that was black. And it's not because I don't think other therapists don't do the job well. It's just, uh, I think there are things that some people won't understand in a
Mhm.
way. So I think that's also good. Where now when you look for a therapist, they say pronoun, she, her, he, him, and they also write, I don't know, uh, gay friendly. Well, don't say gay friendly, but
All
you
things could come to my practice, please. No, but you're totally right. I think back, just fucking, like, I don't know, like 5 years ago, it would have been difficult to have a resource, but like now there are resources that you can find in Montreal. It's difficult, like I said, mental health is a tricky system. It's a complex entity, especially here in Montreal. I don't know what it's like over there in New Zealand. Maybe you can tell me after, but it is here difficult. But there are places that you can go to where you can connect with a psychologist or any kind of therapist that you'll be comfortable with, because they cross other intersections, not just mental health, but also like race and class and all these other things, that that they will understand you on more than just one level.
I think with New Zealand, what I really loved about when yeah, I'm gonna say, like, what really helped me is when I went through I think it was like a year or 2 years ago. I went through this down, because I was used to talking to my therapist in Montreal, right? And then when I got to New Zealand, I told myself, I'm doing good. Sometimes you're just like, oh, I've got this,
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
got this.
Little little
I didn't
confidence boost.
I didn't have it at all.
the narr-
So.
narrator, but in the background is like, he did not have it under control.
I did not have it. What was good, and I called, because there was this line you can call, and then I was saying, I have this, I feel a certain way, and then the person was talking to me, and then listened to me, and then said, I know a person that can help you. She gave me that number. I called that person, who is my psychologist right now, my therapist right now, and the person stayed with me on the phone for a few minutes, you know, like, talk to me, and then at the end said, we're gonna find a day so um, we can, talk, or whatever, And the thing that I found was, I don't know if it's just my experience, because I think it's also a dependent experience, but what I found a bit difficult when I was in Montreal is that I said I had a problem. I said, okay, yeah. So when are you free? So we can talk. So I feel like it was just very, like, very, just very fast, like, Okay, so
Like
we're talking
static, like robotic, like feel like you're not even
about,
talking to a human. Yeah, yeah,
so
that
just
can
like,
be tricky.
okay. Yeah, so it's like, yeah, okay, we'll find a date. Okay, when are you free? And then you have to wait until you are free. So I don't know if it was about my experience, but I do think that what has worked, and I think, was that my therapist did talk to me on the phone before hanging up.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Yeah.
because of course at the same time I was crying on the phone and everything, but my therapist did talk to me, and then she said, "Are you okay? Are you?" And then we went on, and I met up with her. So I think it's, and that's why I say, like, it's, if we were to look at before, I think in Montreal, I think it's good. I'm sure in some places it's a bit more difficult, of course, because and yeah, again, for those people, I pray for them, because it can be difficult depending on where you are in the world, of course.
Yeah, I mean, there are other places in the world where it's completely taboo,
Yeah,
like, so I feel like lucky and privileged to be able to even just talk as openly about mental health with you like this, because especially I think it's important just because with the pandemic, like I think,
yeah,
you know, there's the virus out there, but there's also people who have maybe even exacerbated their mental health conditions, being
yeah,
stuck inside and feeling really like shattered about the state of the world.
yeah,
There's I feel like a second there was like there's a parallel war going on, and it's people's
yeah.
mental, and I think it's so important to remind people that, you know you can have a little bit more compassion with others and with yourself, and and try to educate people more about it. Yeah.
So I think that we've talked about everything. But before we go, if somebody has been listening to us and they reached till the end because they found the discussion interesting or whatever, I just want to say, if you are going through a difficult time, we talk about the issues about why it may stop certain people to get help, but also hope that you saw that there was hope in our message, that that there are people who are going to help you. And what I would say is, looking for a therapist for me was difficult because like I told you what happened to me with the CLSC. It was a very strange situation, and that could have, I think that could, like, maybe have stopped me to look for certain help. But um remember that there are people that are willing to help, you know
Yeah.
and mustn't be too hard on yourself. No.
Yeah, I like my advice for someone, it's the first time kind of trying to reach out for help, just know that you are worthy of it. Like, first of all, just congratulate yourself, because
Yeah,
you have to do the work, like you have to do the work and you are putting in the work. So be proud of yourself, know that you are worthy of recovery, of healing, but like also I think maybe some people kind of look at therapy as just like a one and done thing. It is an ongoing battle that you deal with for a long time, and you really have to put the work in for a long time. And so, you know, maybe the end goal is not for you to be cured, for you to find happiness once and for all. It's to find a way to live with the your behaviors, your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, learn how to live with your mental illness, because you do not equal your mental illness.
yeah,
You grow as a person. You don't have those symptoms for the rest of your life. You don't belong to one specific psychiatric label that you'll find in the DSM-5. Like, you're not that, and
yeah,
you're gonna it as cheesy and corny as it sounds, it gets better the more work you put in. And it's not going to be easy all the time. It's going to be a slow, sometimes hard, and but it's rewarding work, I think. And yeah, I think just again, just bravo to anyone feeling free with themselves to be able to talk about what's going on in their minds, because it's super important.
So there you go, guys. This is the end of the vlog. If you like what you saw, then like, comment, and subscribe if you want. Of course, you don't need to, but if you want to,
Subscribe to
it-
Laugh, please.
thank you. So, and just a reminder that you're not alone, and I hope the video helped. And yeah, so thank you for watching. Yeah, have a good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, wherever you are. Bye, guys.